You are tired. Tired of searching. Tired of watching video after video, hoping one of them will finally give you the answer. The missing piece. The secret that makes everything click. But here is the truth. The answer you are looking for is not in the next video. It is not in the next book. It is not out there at all. Carl Jung discovered something terrifying about people who consume psychology content endlessly. They are not learning. They are hiding. Jung identified a specific psychological state where seeking becomes a defense mechanism against becoming, where watching videos feels like progress but is actually the most sophisticated form of procrastination ever invented. You think you are preparing to live, but you are avoiding life itself. And the worst part? You know this already. Somewhere deep inside, you know that you have been running in circles, collecting insights like trophies, stockpiling wisdom you never use, building a library of transformation techniques while your actual life remains stubbornly, frustratingly, the same. Jung called it the puer aeternus, the eternal child, the person who lives in perpetual preparation, always getting ready, always learning, always one more insight away from finally starting their real life. Sound familiar? You watch videos about shadow work. You learn about archetypes. You understand integration theory. You nod along, feeling that electric sensation of recognition. Yes, this is it. This explains everything. And then what? You click on the next video. Jung saw this pattern destroy lives. Not dramatically, not obviously, but slowly, quietly. Year after year of intellectual understanding without a single moment of real transformation. People who could quote Jung perfectly, but had never actually confronted their own shadow. People who understood every psychological concept, but remained exactly the same person they were 5 years ago. He documented cases of patients who spent decades in what he called the waiting room of life. They were waiting to feel ready, waiting to understand enough, waiting for the perfect moment when all the pieces would finally click into place and transformation would happen automatically, effortlessly, without them having to do anything uncomfortable. That moment never came, because it does not exist. The provisional life feels productive. It feels like growth. You are consuming content. You are learning terms. You are having insights. Your YouTube watch history is full of deep psychological content. Your notes app is overflowing with profound realizations. You can have sophisticated conversations about individuation and shadow integration and archetypal possession. But Jung realized something devastating. Insights without integration are just entertainment. Knowledge without transformation is just ego decoration. You are not becoming wiser. You are becoming a storage unit for unused information. A museum of borrowed wisdom. A library that nobody, including you, ever actually reads. Think about it. How many psychology videos have you watched this month? How many concepts have you learned? Now ask yourself the hard question. What has actually changed in your life? What behavior have you modified? What fear have you faced? What uncomfortable conversation have you had? What pattern have you broken? The silence after those questions is the sound of the provisional life. The eternal preparation that never becomes action. The endless rehearsal that never becomes performance. And here is what makes it so insidious. The provisional life gives you just enough satisfaction to keep you trapped. Every video provides a little dopamine hit of insight. Every new concept makes you feel like you are making progress. Every realization convinces you that you are growing. But you are not growing. You are spectating. You are watching other people describe growth while you sit still. Jung made a brutal distinction: intellectual understanding versus emotional integration. Most people think they are the same thing. They are not even close. They are not even in the same universe. You can know about your shadow. You can define it. You can explain it to others. You can recognize it in examples. You can write essays about it. You can ace a test on Jungian psychology. But if you have never actually felt the burning shame of seeing your own denied darkness, you do not know your shadow. You know about the concept of shadows. This is the trap. The ego loves collecting wisdom. It loves feeling psychologically sophisticated. It loves being the person who understands Jung, who can reference archetypes, who sees patterns others miss. The ego gets fat on borrowed insights. It builds an identity around being the wise one, the conscious one, the person who gets it. But that is not transformation. That is the ego playing dress-up in borrowed wisdom. That is your small self pretending to be your big self. That is the mask of consciousness worn over the face of unconsciousness. Jung called this the vampire of wisdom, the psychological mechanism where the ego consumes insights to feel superior without doing the painful work of actually changing. You watch a video about ego death and feel enlightened, but your ego just got bigger. You learned about humility and became more arrogant. You studied compassion and became more judgmental of those who do not understand compassion like you do. The irony is suffocating. Every video you watch to become more conscious can actually make you more unconscious, because now you have sophisticated language to justify your unconscious patterns. Now you can explain your avoidance. Now you can intellectualize your fear. Now you have a whole vocabulary to describe why you are not changing instead of just changing. Jung watched patients do this for years. They would come to therapy and demonstrate brilliant psychological understanding. They could analyze their own patterns with surgical precision. Empaths aren't broken. They're alchemists in progress. The alchemist's path gives you drills, Jung-based boundaries, and 3 exclusive chapter videos to turn overwhelm into clarity. By Surreal Mind, 236-page downloadable ebook in stock. Begin now at thesurrealmind.com. They could trace their issues to childhood. They could explain their defenses. They could identify their complexes. They could map their entire psychological landscape with impressive accuracy. And they would leave therapy and do absolutely nothing different. Because understanding is not transformation. Talking about swimming is not the same as getting wet. Describing fire is not the same as feeling its heat. Knowing about love is not the same as loving. Here is the question that exposes the illusion. If you lost your memory tomorrow and forgot everything you learned from psychology videos, would your actual behavior be any different? Would you treat people differently? Would you make different choices? Would you face your fears? Would your relationships improve? Would you be braver? If the answer is no, then you do not have wisdom. You have trivia. You do not have transformation. You have information. And information without application is just noise. The gap between knowing and doing is where most people spend their entire lives. They know they should set boundaries, but they do not. They know they should face their fears, but they do not. They know they should have difficult conversations, but they do not. They know they should stop people-pleasing, but they do not. They know they should express their authentic self, but they do not. Why? Because knowing is easy, doing is hard, watching videos is comfortable, changing is terrifying. This is where it gets really dark. Jung discovered that people get addicted to their own potential. They fall in love with the fantasy of who they could become, and that fantasy becomes more attractive than the reality of who they are. Every psychology video you watch feeds that fantasy. Look at who you could be if you integrated your shadow. Look at who you could become if you individuated. Look at the powerful, conscious, awakened person waiting inside you. Just one more insight, just one more concept, just one more video, just one more book, just one more teacher. Meanwhile, the present moment version of you remains unchanged, unexamined, unlived. Because examining the present reality is painful. The fantasy is comfortable. The fantasy lets you feel superior without the discomfort of actual superiority. The fantasy gives you the identity of someone on a profound journey, without requiring you to take a single step. Jung saw this addiction destroy potential that could have been real, people who could have actually transformed, but chose instead to endlessly consume transformation content. People who could have become conscious, but chose to watch videos about consciousness. People who could have lived, but chose to prepare to live. He called them the promising ones. People with enormous potential who never actualized any of it. People who were always about to do something great, always on the verge of a breakthrough, always one realization away from finally becoming who they were meant to be. Except they never did, because potential is safe. Potential cannot fail. Potential cannot be judged. Potential cannot be rejected. As long as you stay in the realm of potential, you are protected from the harsh reality of actual performance. The addiction is subtle. It does not feel like addiction. It feels like growth. It feels like you are doing something important. You are investing in yourself. You are working on your psychology. You are on a journey of self-discovery. Look at your watch history. Look at all these deep, meaningful videos you have consumed. That has to count for something, right? But does consuming content about transformation actually transform you? Does watching videos about consciousness actually make you more conscious? Does learning about Jung actually make you more individuated? Or are you avoiding the terrifying simplicity of what transformation actually requires? Not more information, not more insights, not more concepts, just the courage to stop watching and start doing, to stop learning and start living, to stop preparing and start being. Jung knew the truth. You already know enough, right now, at this exact moment. You know enough to start. You know your patterns. You know your fears. You know what you avoid. You know what you need to face. You know the conversations you need to have. You know the boundaries you need to set. You know the risks you need to take. More videos will not make it easier. More concepts will not make you braver. More understanding will not make the leap less scary. There is no amount of preparation that will make you feel ready. Because readiness is not a feeling you arrive at. It is a decision you make despite the feeling. Here is the mechanism that keeps you trapped. Jung called it the projection of the wise old man archetype. You project your own inner wisdom onto external sources. YouTubers, authors, teachers, therapists, gurus. You give away your authority to people who seem to have the answers you lack. This feels humble. It feels like learning. It feels like respecting expertise. But it is actually a sophisticated avoidance of your own inner knowing. Because if you acknowledge that the wisdom is already inside you, then you have no excuse not to use it. As long as the wisdom lives out there, in the next video, the next book, the next teacher, you can keep searching instead of becoming. Jung warned about this relentlessly. The guru is always a projection. The teacher is always a mirror. What you admire in them already exists in you. What you think they can give you, you already possess. But admitting that is terrifying, because then you are responsible. Then you cannot blame your lack of transformation on not having found the right information yet. Every time you click on a psychology video, ask yourself honestly, are you looking for new information, or are you looking for permission to delay transformation one more day? Are you seeking wisdom, or are you seeking comfort in the familiar pattern of seeking? The answer is uncomfortable, because you know it. You have always known it. Think about the videos you watch repeatedly, the topics you keep coming back to. Shadow work, individuation, consciousness, integration. How many times do you need to learn about these concepts before you actually do something with them? How many different people need to explain the same ideas before you take action? The truth is, you are not watching for new information. You are watching for the feeling of being on a path, the feeling of growth, the feeling of becoming. But feelings are not transformation. Feelings are just feelings, and the feeling of transformation is not the same as actual transformation. Jung noticed something fascinating about his patients who actually transformed versus those who stayed stuck. The ones who transformed were not the ones who understood his theories the best. They were not the ones who could quote him most accurately. They were not the ones with the most psychological knowledge. They were the ones who took what little they understood and actually applied it. They were the ones who felt afraid and did the thing anyway. They were the ones who had imperfect, messy, uncomfortable attempts at change. They were the ones who failed, learned, and tried again. They were the ones who lived their way into new understanding rather than thinking their way into new living. This is the climax, the moment of terrifying realization. No new information is coming to save you. No perfect video exists that will finally make everything clear. No ultimate insight will remove the necessity of actually living your life. You already know your shadow exists. You already know you avoid things. You already know you play roles. You already know you hide. You already know you are not living at your edge. More videos will not change the fact that at some point you have to stop consuming and start confronting. Jung called this the leap, the moment when understanding must become action, when knowledge must become experience, when watching must become doing. And it is terrifying, because the water is dark. You cannot see the bottom. You cannot know what will happen. You cannot prepare for every possibility. You just have to jump. This is why you keep watching videos, not because you need more information, but because the leap is scary, and the videos provide the illusion of progress without the risk of actual change. You can feel productive. You can feel like you are working on yourself. You can maintain the identity of someone on a journey, all while staying completely safe on the shore. But Jung discovered something beautiful. The people who actually transform are not the people who understand the most. They are the people who leap despite understanding very little. They are the people who get uncomfortable, who face the fear, who have the hard conversations, who do the thing they have been avoiding, who live before they feel ready. Transformation does not come from perfect understanding. It comes from imperfect action. It comes from stumbling forward in the dark. It comes from trying things and failing. It comes from being messy and uncertain and afraid, but moving anyway. Jung himself experienced this. During his confrontation with the unconscious, his famous breakdown period, he did not have perfect understanding of what was happening to him. He was terrified, confused, lost, but he kept engaging with the material. He kept doing active imagination. He kept recording his visions. He kept showing up to the work even when he did not understand it. That is what saved him. Not his brilliant theories, not his intellectual understanding, but his willingness to engage with the unknown, his courage to keep going when he could not see the path, his commitment to the process even when the outcome was uncertain. So what is Jung's solution? It is brutally simple. Stop. Just stop. Stop consuming content. Stop seeking new information. Stop watching videos about psychology. Stop reading about transformation. Just stop. And in that stopping, in that silence, in that absence of new input, something happens. The unconscious actually gets a chance to speak. Because right now, your unconscious is drowned out by constant content consumption. You fill every quiet moment with someone else's voice, someone else's insights, someone else's wisdom. You wake up and check your phone. You watch videos while you eat breakfast. You listen to podcasts on your commute. You scroll during lunch. You watch more videos in the evening. You fall asleep to someone talking about consciousness. When, in all of that, does your own unconscious get to speak? When do you get to hear your own inner voice? Never. Because you have replaced inner work with content consumption. You have replaced self-reflection with other people's reflections. You have replaced your own journey with watching other people describe their journeys. Jung called this active imagination, but it requires silence, real silence, boredom even, the uncomfortable space where you are alone with yourself, and there is No video to watch, no content to consume, no distraction from what is actually happening inside you. This is where real transformation lives, not in the next video, in the silence after you turn them all off, not in the next insight, in the space where you sit with what you already know and finally let it change you. Jung's prescription is terrifying in its simplicity. Stop seeking, start being, stop learning, start living, stop preparing, start doing. Not because you feel ready, not because you understand everything, not because you have watched enough videos, but because life is happening now and no amount of preparation will make you more ready than you already are. The shift is from thinking to sensing, from consuming to experiencing, from watching to doing. And it requires something you have been avoiding. It requires you to be bored, to be uncertain, to be uncomfortable, to not know, to move forward anyway. Here is what that actually looks like. You stop watching psychology videos. You sit in silence for 20 minutes a day. You journal without any structure or goal. You pay attention to your dreams. You notice your patterns in real time. You catch yourself avoiding and you stop avoiding. You feel the fear and you act anyway. You have the conversation. You set the boundary. You take the risk. It is not sexy. It is not exciting. It does not give you that dopamine hit of a new insight. But it is real. And real transformation is quiet, unglamorous, uncomfortable work that nobody else can see or validate or applaud. Jung knew this. He spent years in his own darkness, doing his own work, with no audience and no validation. He did not post about it. He did not make videos about it. He did not seek external confirmation. He just did the work because the work needed to be done. That is individuation, not understanding the concept, living it. This might actually be the last video you ever need to watch, not because it contains some ultimate truth, but because you are ready to stop watching and start living. You know enough. You have always known enough. The only thing standing between you and transformation is the illusion that you need one more piece of information. Jung spent his life studying consciousness, and his final insight was simple. Consciousness is not something you learn about. It is something you live, and you cannot live it while you are busy watching videos about living it. So here is your permission, the permission you have been waiting for. Stop searching. You have found everything you need. It was inside you the whole time. Now you just have to be brave enough to use it. Close this video. Turn off your phone. Sit in silence. Feel the discomfort of not consuming content. Notice the urge to reach for the next video. And resist it. Sit with yourself. Listen to what your unconscious is trying to tell you. And then act on it. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Not after one more video. Now. If you are ready to stop watching and start living, write "I am ready" in the comments below. And if this video helped you realize that you have been using content consumption as avoidance, hit the like button. Subscribe if you want more insights that challenge you to actually transform instead of just learning about transformation. But honestly, you do not need to subscribe. You do not need more videos. In The Alchemist's Path, perception training for empaths, you'll turn overwhelm into wisdom with practical drills, Jung-inspired boundaries, and step-by-step perception training. This guide includes 3 exclusive chapter videos to deepen each lesson. Written by Surreal Mind, 236 pages, beautifully designed 8.5 by 11 downloadable ebook, in stock now. Start your training today. Feel deeply while thinking clearly. Get The Alchemist's Path at thesurrealmind.com.